Hi, I'm Vic Carucci, and I'm joined by Bill Polian, and both of us are extremely excited about an event coming up on November 30th at Quail Ridge Books in Raleigh, North Carolina, a virtual event where the two of us will be talking about our new book, and it's called Super Bowl Blueprints, and it will be on sale there. And we will be doing this from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, this virtual event. As I mentioned, this is our second book together. I had the great pleasure of doing the first one, which was the game plan that Bill and I did back in 2014. And Bill, I still remember this to this day, the phone call you made to me somewhere early in 2020 or 2019. 2020 is kind of a blur, but I do remember the phone call where Triumph Publishing approached you about another book, and you reached out to me and said, let's do this again. And you know what? It sounded like a great idea. And I jumped in, and frankly, Bill, this project, which is amazing, we'll talk more about it and also during that session, but this is something that explores well beyond you. And even though your voice is prominent, but the other one was more of a how-to manual of putting a team together, hiring coaches. This one, you and I really took a big, deep dive into the great dynasties in the NFL.
Yeah, what turned out to be a labor of love really wasn't a book. It became almost like Topsy, magically an oral history of the great dynasties in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in the NFL. And we went to the players and the coaches and the owners and the general managers, and they gave their view of how and why they won Super Bowls, and or made it to the case of the Buffalo Bills, made it to Super Bowls. And the information and the openness with which they approached this was absolutely unbelievable. You and I allotted an hour for each interview when we were blocking the book out. And I don't think we had one that lasted less than 90 minutes.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, it was stunning. And again, it became, as you call it, very much a labor of love. And such a massive undertaking that, frankly, I wasn't even aware of how much labor would be involved in this labor of love. And it turned out we did, I believe, Bill, around 32 interviews, as you mentioned, with all these luminaries, team owners, front office people, the executives, current and former coaches, former coaches, I guess. But some current team owners involved, Jerry Jones and John Mara and Art Rooney II, and then Hall of Famers. And here's the other thing about this that struck me. While I'd love to think that I could do, with my best efforts, get all these top names in the course of months, or in our case, over more than a year, to do this, I know the magnet was the fellow Hall of Famer that you were to the Steve Youngs, to the Terry Bradshaws. Bill Polian asks for your time, and Jerry Jones steps up and comes to the fore. And I love that the most. And just like this Zoom call, it would be Bill and I, and then the next box would be filled by one of these amazing people, Troy Aikman, you name it, Bill Parcells, and they opened up for you, Bill, incredibly.
Well, I found out that gold jacket really is a fraternity, and we do things for one another, which turned out to be a great boon for you and I. But what blew me away, and I hope we'll do the same for our readers, is the candor, the honesty, the openness that these guys gave us. That we actually looked into their souls, and they related to us what went on while they were playing, coaching, managing, owning, and how all this greatness and all these Lombardi trophies came about. And one example, which I won't go into in depth, because this is a tease, obviously, but which left me almost, well, both of us almost speechless, was Mike Haynes, the Hall of Fame cornerback who started with the New England Patriots. Al Davis brought him to the Raiders. He talks about that. But Darryl Stingley, who was paralyzed by a hit from Jack Tatum in a Patriot Raider game,
Yep.
was Mike Haynes' closest friend on the Patriots. And he talks about meeting and talking with Jack Tatum, who was a legendary Raider, and the emotions that came forth and his ability to deal with what happened to his best friend because of this, I won't say confrontation, probably emotional conversation between the two on a flight to a Raider game. I'm not sure anybody's ever heard it before. I certainly hadn't. And it will literally take your breath away.
So many stories that have not been told before are revealed in this book. Again, it's in oral history format. Each chapter is a series of voices, each one leading with Bill Polian's voice, setting the table. And then we weave through each of these incredible dynasties. And as Bill said, people did open their souls and reveal a lot. Terry Bradshaw talking about a very troubled relationship that he had with Chuck Noll and the depth of that. Just to give you an example, give you a tease. Again, the book is Super Bowl Blueprints, and it'll keep you busy, about 400 or so pages. And we want to tell you the event, just so you know, November 30th, Quail Ridge Books in Raleigh, North Carolina, 8 to 9 p.m. The two of us will be available for this full hour, for this virtual full hour, to talk football, answer questions about the book. You'll have a Hall of Fame general manager, Bill Polian, at your disposal for an hour. That's a pretty rare treat. And for the first 60 purchases from this bookstore, you will have an autographed copy of the book. We signed book plates that will be inserted in the first 60 that are purchased that day. So please join us. We look for, this was a labor of love. My 11th project, and together with Bill, our second. And I know I couldn't be prouder of anything else I've done in writing or any line of work. So we appreciate your attention on this, and please join us.
We look forward to it. Come join us.